Hi everyone, I'm Meredith Abbott, Culinary Director for Sur La Table, and welcome to On the Table. Today I'm making cream puffs with espresso pastry cream and a chocolate drizzle. These light and airy puffs are made from the classic French pastry pâte, and they're filled with this bold espresso pastry cream. All right, to get started, you'll notice that this dough is going to come together a little differently than most doughs that you're used to, and that is because it's cooked twice. Once in a saucepan and then again in an oven. So to start, to this saucepan, I'm going to add my butter and water. I'm going to get this melting. So we're going to melt our butter into our water. I'm going to bring this mixture to a boil. Great, now that it's come to a simmer and almost a boil, I'm gonna add in my salt and remove it from the heat. Now I'm going to add in my flour. I'm gonna stir like crazy. This is gonna come together. It's gonna look lumpy at first, and you're gonna stir this until it forms one mass and kind of comes together around the spoon. Okay, it is one dough. I'm going to move this back to the heat, and I'm going to continue cooking while stirring for about a minute or until that film I was talking about forms on the bottom of your saucepan. All right, I've got my film that's formed on the bottom of the saucepan, and it's been about a minute. So turn the heat off, and now I'm going to add this into my stand mixer. And I'm going to start beating it. Beating it does two different things. One, it starts to cool it down, and then it also starts to develop the gluten. We really want that gluten to create the structure of these little cream puffs. You're gonna beat this on medium speed for about 1 minute. All right, my dough's been going for about a minute. This is an important step. You want your dough to be slightly cool before you start adding your eggs so you don't end up with scrambled eggs in your dough. So slowly, one at a time, you're going to add your eggs in. Beating in between each addition, medium speed. At first when you add the egg, it's gonna look really wet and glossy and really shiny. And then when the egg incorporates, it's gonna look a little bit more matte, and that's when you know you're ready to add your next egg. And there's my fourth. Now I'm gonna watch this closely because there is a chance that I might need to add a fifth egg. So I'm gonna let this one incorporate. I'm gonna watch for it to cling to the sides of the bowl, and then I'm gonna do what we call a strand test with it. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up, take some dough in between my pointer and thumb, squeeze it a little bit, and then you stretch. And just like that, it should hold a string about 2 inches long. So I would say this is right there. And now since my dough is ready, I'm ready to fill my piping bag. I have placed a medium round open tip in the bottom of a disposable piping bag, and then I like to fold it and open it up over a quart container. This will help me fill it without having to jostle around with it in my hands. So scrape all the dough off your beater into the bowl. You want to get all of this dough, and I'm going to give this a few stirs with my silicone spatula. These are great because they have a really rigid handle, so I can really get in there and stir kind of firmly, but the head on it is flexible enough so it really scrapes around that bowl. I'm gonna take a big spoonful and add it in and kind of scrape onto the side. I'm gonna do this with all of my pâte dough. Perfect. And then you just lift up from the sides. And this way you can squeeze from the top and release all of that air out of the bottom. Just to see it come through. Great. And now you're ready to pipe. So I'm looking for spheres that are about the size of ping pong balls or golf balls. I'm gonna hold my piping bag up off of the parchment paper a little bit and pipe in an even pressure. And then if you can, cut it off sideways a little bit. We can fix that shape a little bit later, or you can use your paring knife to clip off that edge. So you're gonna pipe as many of these as you can get. They'll look better the more you do. Practice is perfect. Your first one's always gonna look a little wonky. Even pressure, release the pressure, and then cut. And keep repeating. I'll repeat this process on a second baking sheet, but for now, what I'm gonna do is any of these that have kind of a hat or a point to them, just take your finger and just kind of bop it down a little bit. But now mine are ready to get egg washed, so I'm gonna beat 1 egg. Okay, and then with a pastry brush, you're just going to coat the tops and a little bit down the sides. Be very careful not to let this drip down the sides of these cream puffs onto the parchment, because that'll glue the dough to the parchment and they won't get that nice rise. It's gonna give it a nice shiny coat and add to that crispness. The baking of these cream puffs is a little different too. They're gonna start in at a really high temperature, 400 degrees, then go to 350, and then they're going to kind of dry out at 300. So in they go. And now it's time to make my espresso pastry cream. I'm going to start by heating my milk, half of the sugar, vanilla bean paste, and a pinch of salt. I'm gonna heat this over medium heat until it begins to simmer. Whisk to combine and kind of get that sugar from sticking to the bottom. And while my milk is heating, I'm going to whisk together the remaining ingredients, which are egg yolks, cornstarch, and sugar. Whisk this together until it's nice and smooth and there's no lumps. Okay, great. I'm gonna clean up a little bit while my milk is heating. All right, my milk has just come to a simmer. I'm gonna turn the heat off and add in my espresso powder. Whisk this to combine. Now we're going to temper the eggs. And what that means is I'm going to gradually increase the temperature of this egg mixture with the hot milk mixture. I'm going to start by taking a ladle and adding a little bit into my egg mixture to start warming it up. Like so. We want to do this nice and gently so we don't scramble our egg yolks. Okay, now that that's in, I'm going to add a little bit more. Like so. Great, and I can feel through the bowl that this is nice and warm. It's nice and whisked. And I'm going to pour the warm egg mixture into the milk, into the saucepan. And turn the heat back on. It's medium low. And we're going to whisk this consistently until it begins to simmer. I used cornstarch as my thickener today, and that needs to boil in order to activate that thickening agent. Just keep heating this. I'm going to switch now to a silicone spatula, a heat-safe one, so that I can make sure that I'm scraping the bottom of this pan and getting into all the corners, and to keep stirring consistently. So you're gonna stir this again until this is nice and thick and it comes to a simmer. Okay, this is getting nice and thick. It came together really quickly, but I do want this to come to a simmer. I want to see some bubbles. Again, anything sweet needs to have a little salt for balance. And now I'm starting to get some bubbles, so I know that my cornstarch is nice and thick now. I'm going to take this off the heat. I'm going to switch back to my whisk. I'm going to add some cubed butter, and this is going to add some richness and some silky texture. Great. That is in. One more step is to strain it through a fine mesh strainer. I have this set over a large bowl. I love these strainers that have the little lips on them, so I don't have to hold it in place. It just rests there by itself. Pour this through. We're gonna make sure that there's no lumps. Just ensures a really silky smooth texture. So scrape it all out. And then using your silicone spatula, you're just gonna press it through. You see it comes through and it's so luxurious. Okay, we got almost all of it through. There you go. Now I need to chill this. I'm gonna set this bowl over an ice bath, which is a large bowl filled with ice and water. Set your bowl of pastry cream on top of that. And then once it's in the ice bath, you're going to take some plastic wrap, press it against the surface of this pastry cream. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator until it's completely cooled. All right, my puffs are cool, my pastry cream is cold, and now it's time to assemble. I'm gonna start by taking a few off the baking sheet. I'm gonna cut them in half carefully. Watch out for your fingers. You can turn them on your side if you need to. Nice and tender, look at that. Nice, it's like its own little bowl, and this is perfect for pastry cream. Okay, now I'm gonna take my pastry cream. I'm just gonna use 2 spoons today. If you wanted to put this into a piping bag and pipe them in, you could, but this is nice and easy. So I take 1 spoon and just use the other spoon to scrape it off, and you kind of want a heaping mound. You want the filling to poke out a little bit when you put the top back on, like so. Spoon and fill all of them. Some might get a little more than others because they have a nice cavity in there and they're nice and hollow. Keep repeating this process until you have all of your cream puffs or your puffs filled. Once you do, set this aside, place the lids back on, and just push gently. It's kind of nice to see the pastry cream peeking out. Get them all on there. I'm gonna place them on a plate. Kind of stagger them a little bit. And now the finishing touches, which is to drizzle some chocolate sauce over top. So that makes these kind of like a mocha cream puff. This could also be done in a piping bag. Nice, that's what I wanna see. So just over top, just give little drizzles. It's gonna be kind of messy, that's okay. And just drizzle. Ooh, that one also has a lot. All right, and as if this wasn't fancy enough, now we're going to dust with a little bit of powdered sugar, and you just dust right over top. Like so. And there you have it. Cream puffs that are light and airy, filled with beautiful, bold espresso pastry cream and drizzled with chocolate sauce. Enjoy.